All right, we're looking at the relationship between two quantitative variables. And we all know that the very first thing that we always do with our set of data is graph it, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's going to give us a good visual look at whatever we're trying to find out. In this case, we're trying to discern that relationship between x and y. So we're looking at this data that was mentioned in the previous video. Because elderly people may have difficulty standing to have their heights measured, a study looked at predicting overall height from the height to the knee. And here is the data. So the first thing we want to do is a scatter plot. So let's talk about how we draw a scatter plot by hand, because it's certainly reasonable that I could expect you to do this on an exam. Any of the any of the graphs that we've learned about, you should be able to construct. So when I'm trying to construct a scatter plot, I first look at the data and just try to get a good feel for the range of both the x and the y, so I know what kind of tick marks to put on my axes. So I'm going to kind of draw my axis here. Okay, and I can see that for my x variable, it looks like it goes from about 43.5 up to about 57.7. So I just want to make sure I capture that when I'm creating my tick marks on my axes. And for y, for the height, looks like it starts down here at 146 and goes up to about 192. So I'm going to start with the x-axis, and it's not too big of a span that we're covering, so I think I'm going to make my tick marks go for every 2 centimeters on here. So I'm going to start at 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, 54, 56, 58, 60. I think that'll about cover it. So now I'm just going to label all of those. So the important thing when we're creating our tick marks is just that they're evenly spaced. So they have the same distance between all of them. In my case, I've chosen 2 centimeters. Obviously, it's a little bit arbitrary what you choose here, but as long as you have evenly spaced tick marks, then we should all get the same graph no matter what. So I'll just finish writing these on here, 58 and 60. Now for the other direction, there's a much larger span in the numbers here, so I think I'm going to go by tens, starting with 140. So I'll have 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, and 200. So let me write those numbers in there. I have 170, 180, 190, and 200. All right, now that I've got the axes all drawn, and certainly it wouldn't hurt to label these axes either, so I'll go ahead and write those in there. And over here we have the height. Then I can start plotting the points. So it's just basically an XY coordinate system here. So my first observation, the knee height was 57.7. So I'm going to come over here right to where I think 57.7 is. And the height was 192. So I'm going to come up here. 92 is probably in this region, and I'm going to draw a dot. The next one, 47.4 and 153.3. So that looks like it's right about there. So I put another dot. The next one, 43.5 and 146.4, kind of down here closer to the bottom. Then I have 44.8 and 162.7, so probably about right there. Then we have 55.2 out over here, and 169.1. So 169 is pretty close to 170. That should be right about in here. And the last one is 54.6 and 177.8. So that's going to be about over here. All right, so now I've gone ahead and I've constructed this scatter plot. And if you recall, we're looking for 3 things on a scatter plot. We're looking for form, which is what is the overall pattern, and are there any striking deviations from that pattern. We're looking for direction, either positive or negative. This especially applies if the form is linear. and the last thing we're looking for is strength. And strength refers to just how closely do the points fit the form. So in this case, looking at this, it looks to me like we have, I mean, there's only 6 points, so keep that, in mind as we're looking at this. But it does look like we have a linear relationship, so I'm going to call this linear. The direction is positive, so as the knee height increased, so did the overall height, so positive. And the strength, well, it looks pretty strong. Granted, only 6 points there, but I would say strong or moderately strong on this one. All right, so now we've learned how to construct a scatter plot. In the next video, we'll do some more with this data, looking at correlation and regression.